Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football, the first football club in football history to hit €1 million in revenue in one calendar football year is Real Madrid. Who can stop the juggernauts? Look, we have a juggernaut in the Premier League, Manchester City. Maybe a court case can stop them. And look, football does go round in cycles, doesn't it? Maybe it'll be Barcelona's time in a couple of years, but the problem with Real Madrid is they've won another Champions League. They've been a dominant force in football for many, many, many decades now. Who can stop Real Madrid? Because over €1 million in revenue in 1 year obliterates any other football club in history. This is unprecedented. This is massive. The richest club in the world, and they're doing it from a league which isn't really the richest league in the world. Imagine what a Real Madrid would do if they were operating in a Super League or a Premier League. It would be scary. So look, how do you stop Real Madrid? What do you think about this? I think that, look, first things first, over €1 million in revenue in 1 year is a 27% increase. When you look at the last financial calendar year, I think Real Madrid and Man City were somewhere around €750 million for the year. They've gone up to over 1 million. Massive, massive increase. But the interesting thing is, guess what their profit is? Over €1 million over €1 billion in profit in 1 year. 16 million in profit. So their outgoings are almost as much as their revenue. But that's absolutely fine when you're making that amount of money. They've just built a new stadium. Real Madrid are going to go from strength to strength to strength. How do Premier League clubs deal with that? Well, as a Man United fan, and I'm sure other clubs look at it and go, well, if Real Madrid can do it, we can definitely get close to that. Maybe not as big. But their domination is going to be very, very hard to beat. I mean, you look at the future of La Liga and you look at the problems that Barcelona have got. It's chalk and cheese time, isn't it? It's night and day. How do Barcelona compete with Real Madrid when Real Madrid are an absolute footballing juggernaut that will go from strength to strength? And their revenue may well increase, and their profits certainly will, because a lot of money will be going out of Real Madrid because of the expense on building a brand new Bernabeu. But this is the new football we're talking about, and what are your thoughts about it? Are we looking at a change in football? We know that Perez for many years has wanted the Super League, but even without it, Real Madrid are still that dominating force. And people would say, well, why does Perez want the Super League when Real Madrid, even when they're not in the Premier League, can still make a hell of a lot more money? Because if you drop a club like Real Madrid in La Liga, which is not a very competitive league, where most of the teams are nowhere near what Barcelona and Real Madrid can make. So, it will always be Real Madrid or Barcelona winning La Liga, maybe Atletico Madrid every now and again. But you're never going to see a Deportivo La Coruña or a Valencia or a Sevilla winning La Liga. It's not going to happen. The financial disparity is huge. So if Real Madrid can operate in their Spanish league and still win the Champions League on the regular, why would they want a Super League? Well, it's very, very clear. If you can make $1 billion in a year operating in a league that you dominate because you're stronger than everybody else, imagine what you can make taking brand Real Madrid into a Super League where you're playing Arsenal in Sydney and Manchester United in New York and Juventus in Delhi. You're going to make 3, 4, 5 billion a year, and that's what Perez wants, this juggernaut to make even more money. And the reason that Real Madrid make all this money is because they have a huge fan base, they have a huge appeal. They've just bought Kylian Mbappe. That isn't even on the books for this year. They've just bought Mbappe. That's going to be more money pouring into the football club. The stadium is now built properly. It's not fully operational yet, like the Death Star. It's going to be fully operational now. That's going to bring more money in. They've already got the likes of Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham, fantastic players. They've just won the Champions League. More and more people worldwide are going to go, I want a Real Madrid shirt. I support Real Madrid. I want to go to the Bernabeu. More money comes in. They've just done that deal with HP on their shirt sleeve. More money comes in. Merchandising, growing fan base, big stadium. Money, money, money. Real Madrid ain't going to go anywhere. And we talk about the power of the Premier League, and they can't win the Premier League. They'll never win the Premier League. But how do you stop Real Madrid winning the Champions League when year after year after year they're going to make more money? And this is something that I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe has mentioned about, and I think other leaders of other clubs in the Premier League have mentioned. We can't be insular. The Premier League is the best league in the world. We are starting to let that slip with crap VAR, too many minutes, too many games. There are issues with the Premier League that we've seen, but it still remains the most entertaining league in the world because it's got a more balanced playing field than La Liga or the Italian league. But how would you deal with Real Madrid in the Champions League when they're going to have the best players in the world, the best stadia, the biggest fan base? How do you take that on? And the only way you're going to take that on is if clubs in the Premier League have a little bit more financial freedom to do that. And at the moment, as we're seeing with what we were talking about yesterday and last week, what's going on with the Premier League transfer window, you've got teams like Aston Villa who qualify for the Champions League who might play Real Madrid, but won't play Real Madrid with Douglas Luiz because they've had to sell him to generate funds to bring other players in. They've had to sell to buy. Real Madrid ain't never going to have to sell Camavinga to buy Mbappe. And that is why there has to be a bit of a concern around Real Madrid when it comes to their dominance of the world game, because they are very much operating unrestricted. In La Liga, no one can touch them. And in the Champions League, it won't be long before no one can touch them because their revenues are just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And look, we already know at Man United, we did very well to stop Euro going there. You wonder why Real Madrid didn't do that deal. Don't necessarily need to do it. But we also know that in a couple of years' time, someone like Garnacho will have aspirations. And it's that aspirational dream that players have to play for Real Madrid that makes them very powerful as well. Not only are they a juggernaut of wealth now and they're growing and growing and growing, they also have that magnetism, that magnet effect on players that want to go and play for them. So I think it's interesting. I mean, Real Madrid, they're not Man City. They've been around for a very, very long time. But they are a juggernaut. And how do you stop it? How do you compete with that? Can the Premier League clubs compete with that? Is the distribution of funds in the Premier League too fair? Is the Premier League too boxed off? We looked at this a couple of years ago when the Super League fell apart and we were like, Perez in the mud, Real Madrid in the mud. But actually, are we actually at a point now where you'd say being in the Premier League actually might be restrictive to your success in the Champions League? Because Real Madrid, boring, they're going to win La Liga again, but they're going to win the Champions League again next year, probably. They'll be the very, very hot favourites. Does the Premier League and its rules apply too much restriction to allow you to then be competitive in the Champions League? And could this be a longer road to a Super League, which ultimately Real Madrid will want? Because Real Madrid will keep making money. They'll make another billion next year. But the money they'd make in a Super League is why Perez wants it. Very interesting. Amazing figures. 27% increase to €1 billion revenue in 1 year. Can a Premier League club do it? They can, but it's difficult because Real Madrid have got a monopoly, haven't they, at the moment, on La Liga and the Champions League. And they've shown how you can be successful outside of the Premier League. Not many can, but Real Madrid have been. Get your comments in below. Smash the like on the video. I'll speak to you on the next one.